Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. A closer look at agriculture in South Carolina and conversations between the current and future leaders of agriculture in the Palmetto State and experts from across America. Presented by the students of the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture at John De La Howe. From our campus in McCormick County, here's our moderator, Asa Simmons.
Welcome to this edition of Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. I'm Asa Simmons. I have today's guests. I have with me Elizabeth Viseth and Dell Brockman, and today's guest is Jackie Moore. She works with the South Carolina's agritourism program, or
that works.
Okay, program, and she's kind of the director of it, or more like marketing specialist. And today we're here to learn more about it. So one question that I kind of had, like when hearing about ag tourism, is like how can it be, considering that those are two biggest industries in South Carolina, how is it more marketable towards the farmer?
Agritourism is when people come and visit the farm. And so when they open up their farms to allow guests to come on for entertainment, for education, then the farm benefits from it, as well as the people who come to visit.
Well, as someone who grew up in kind of like a rural area, and there were a lot of farms, what can you suggest to help farmers make their farms more comforting, more fun, more educational towards visitors?
Well, I go and visit farms, and first thing I suggest they do is to take an inventory of what they have. What do you have that might interest other people? Do you have a lake? Do you have beautiful hiking trails or woods? What do you have that people might want to see? Do you have animals? Do you have chickens that they can go and harvest the eggs? But I ask the farm to look at what they have already and see what might interest people to come and see. Invite your church over, or invite your friends over. What is it they like to do when they come to your farm? And that's a good place to start if you want to become an agritourism professional.
Is there any specific requirements that farms have to meet to be a part of this program?
The one thing that they have to do is be a working farm. You just can't have a barn on your property and start having weddings and say you're agritourism. To be agritourism, you have to be a working farm. And what a working farm is you make a percentage of your income every year from a farm commodity, either crop or animals or something. I mean, even forestry, which you don't every year harvest your trees, but you are an agriculture industry. There really isn't a big amount you have to make. I think USD requires $1,000 a year in a normal year. But you do have to be a working farm to be considered agritourism. Yes.
My question, a question I have is when I was doing research on you, I saw you went to Purdue University.
Yes.
And
Boilermaker.
and I was wondering what did you major in? Did you ever change your major between marketing? Did you ever? How did you really find your interest in ag from marketing? Because I don't know if Purdue has any ag-related majors.
Oh, it does. We are actually the land grant in Indiana. So we're like Clemson is in South Carolina. We are the land grant college. I know they're known for their engineers. They're known for their astronauts. Some really good quarterbacks. But really, we are an ag school. But it's so funny. I went to Purdue majoring in, believe it or not, home economics. But I did not enjoy it. So my freshman year, I switched my major to agriculture. My emphasis was horticulture. I lived a lot of acres when I grew up. My neighbors were dairy farmers, so I hung out at the dairy farm. So I really had a love for agriculture. So my degree was actually in agriculture education with an emphasis in horticulture, and I taught high school, for several years and was the FFA advisor. before I got a chance to move south to beautiful South Carolina 30-some years ago.
How would you, well, considering you saying you're a teacher, what are some ways that like students can better like let's say a student wants to be a farmer and they would like to be able to like show off their farm and have like an ag tourism. I would say part of their farm. How would you say a student can get into that?
Well, one thing, if you're thinking about doing agritourism, there's a couple of things you can do. One is you want to get a copy of my Agritourism 101 manual because there's a lot more to it. And this is a free manual that I send to anybody who asks for it. All you have to do is let me know and I will send it to you. But you go through it and realize there's a lot more than just inviting people on. You've got to understand, have a business plan. You need to understand the issues with liability. There's a lot of things that you need to do. So you want to do a little bit of homework. If you're in South Carolina, Clemson University has a really great program called New and Beginning Farmer Program, where you can take a class and learn what it is to be a farmer. First of all, a lot of people in the class don't even have land yet, but they know they want to farm. That's another good thing to do. Also, if you happen to be a veteran, South Carolina is none of you are veterans yet, but anybody who decides to go in the armed service and when they get out, South Carolina has tremendous benefits for veterans. They have, it's called Victory Garden, and they train vets as they get out of the military on how to do farming and how to do agritourism. So there's a lot of opportunities. Also, the Department of Agriculture, if you think you want to do something, be an intern. We have summer interns in the summer. So apply to be a summer intern at the Department of Agriculture. There's all kinds of different ways that we could fit you in to see if it's something you want to do and get you started.
This is kind of unrelated, but earlier you mentioned that agritourism is one of the leading growing things in agriculture right now. Mm-hmm. How does that affect the economy?
Of course, it helps the economy. The more that people, of course, come to a farm, they also, when you go visit, let's see, Estill, we'll bring that up. If you had a farm in Estill, not only does Woody, when he goes down to Estill, he has to stop and buy gas. He goes to the Harvey's or whatever it is he goes to and buys lunch. That is increasing the economy of that town. So every time someone comes visit, they don't just go to your farm. They get gas in your area. They have lunch in your area. So it really helps the economy in rural areas of South Carolina.
Another thing is earlier you had a presentation for our school and it mentioned the ag tourism passport. What can you fully describe what that program is?
Okay, that was just one of those things that came to me when I couldn't sleep. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a passport? In fact, so I started in 2016, and actually it looked like a passport, that you get to travel to Europe or so. It was blue, same size. Our graphic designer made it actually look like a passport. So I thought, great, people will go to different farms and get their passport stamped at those farms. And so and if you look at this one, if you open it up, there's a place for your picture if you want, just like your passport, expiration date. But what it is it gives the kids a fun way to visit farms, get stamps, and then the more stamps they get, they send them in to me, and they get valuable prizes. I think this year you can win a backpack or a phone charger, a lunchbox, different levels. You get different prizes. It was just a neat way to get people to visit different farms and then get something back for it.
Okay, so I was looking through the agricultural passport, and I find it pretty cool that you have all these ways to contact the farm and all these ways to look at what they do, and I find that very interesting and probably very helpful to the farms in question because they can actually get their farms and their name out there, and just scrolling through it, you can pick a random farm and be like, oh, that's close to me. Let me go out into it, go to the farm. So how would you say like this agritourism passport has helped communities?
Well, I like the way you brought that up, that it does describe them and it does have ways to contact them. I do want to say these are working farms. So even though they invite people on and they have hours in there when they're open, I recommend you call because they're farmers. They may be busy that day. Even though they say they're going to be open, sometimes it doesn't help. It isn't. Also about the passport is it's by region. If you notice, the first section is for the upstate. So if you live up in the upstate, and you'll find farms near you. And same, we divide the state into 4: upstate, Midlands, low country, and PD. So we try and group that. Even the directory you'll see that you have in front of you for more farms than are the passport. They're also by region. So you can find someone near you, or you can travel the whole state. That's the one thing about South Carolina. You can travel from one side to the other all in one day. It's not like those huge states that, it takes you 3 days to get across Pennsylvania. You don't have that problem in South Carolina. So when people come and visit, though, like I said, it increases the economy because people are buying lunch, they're buying gasoline, they're stopping by other things. You can also stop by your state parks and get your ultimate outsider stamp in your state park book at the same time you're getting your passport stamp. So it's all helping South Carolina's economy.
This is a great way to get kids involved in agriculture. Can you explain why it's so important for young people to know where their food comes from?
Well, I look at it when I grew up, and we all know I'm a bit older than you guys. When I grew up, my grandparents had farms. As we get farther and farther away from that, a lot of our kids don't have any exposure to farms. It is not, people joke about it, but it's not funny that they think eggs come from the grocery store. They don't realize they actually come out of a chicken. Then they go, it comes out of where? So it's important that everyone knows where the food comes from. They know how much fresher it is when it's local. You buy eggs in the grocery store, and they could be 6 months old by the time they get to your house. You go down to the local farmer, he just got them out of the chicken that day. So it's important that our kids understand the difference between old, store-bought, traveled across the country foods and foods that are grown right in your neighborhood, right fresh. It's better for your bodies, and it tastes a lot better as well.
With you saying that, like, how foods can come, like, from, like, across country, because I know how, like, California makes a lot of produce for South Carolina and states over here. My question is, what do you think you can propose for other states to help better market their inner their local markets?
Yeah, well, agritourism is just not South Carolina. And when I say agritourism, I also mean our roadside markets, because that is part of it. When you have a food stand that you're selling your product right on your property in a roadside market. But other states, this is national, this is international agritourism. It's just not South Carolina. So all the other states are doing the same thing. I meet once a year with people that do my job all over the country, and it's kind of neat to see what they're doing in their state compared to what we're doing. It's the best thing for networking with other people around the United States and around the world, actually, who are doing it. And they're selling just like we are. And they know it's better to have local. Now, some things you're not going to get. Okay, we know if you want a pineapple, you're not going to get it in South Carolina. So we do know that you can't get everything from here. You can't get coffee beans in South Carolina. You do have to go other places. But if it is grown in South Carolina, if it's corn, if it's one of our commodities, it's best to get it from South Carolina than to buy it elsewhere. And of course, that's why we started, 16 years ago, certified South Carolina grown, with that little sticker is on every product or every produce. So you know that it came from South Carolina. You know it's local, and it's going to be fresher, and it's going to be better for you.
What are some ways you can, like, better advertise or better help, like, the consumer be able to contact farmers and everything like that?
Well, that we try and put it on the website. We do have website, and I do put up billboards, believe it or not, to tell everybody to go to scfarmfund.org. On the back of this, there is a what do you call it? QR code that people can scan and enter and get the newsletter that tells them where to get their product. It's all about advertising and getting the word out, and it's word of mouth, but it's also just letting people know that there's a website where they can get that information they need.
Another question I had was when I was looking on the agritourism website, it mentioned the TODS program.
TODS.
Yeah, TODS. Can you?
Tourist-oriented directional signs. And they're the big blue directional signs that you'll see on rural highways. And what it does is it tells you how to get to an agritourism venue. It's PRT. We work with Park Recreation Tourism. We work with DOT, which is what do you call it? The transportation, who put up the signs on the highway. And we work with them to approve certain farms. There's things you have to abide by. You have to be open to the public on a regular basis. You have to be in a rural area, not downtown Columbia or something. But yes, they apply for those signs, and then it gives people direction. I don't know if you go out and get Christmas trees go out and cut your own Christmas tree. But that's very popular. Well, when you go out to get them, let me tell you, they're way out there. And the best thing you can see is you see those blue signs with the name of it and a directional sign. You go, oh my gosh, I found it. Because GPS is good, but not always out in the rural areas can you rely on GPS to find your farms. So that's a great thing that was brought about. I think that's about 15, 16 years old, that program. We still have every year people applying for it, and it just really helps people find the farms that are really out there in the rural area, hard to locate. So it's a good program.
Okay, this is kind of, I'm sorry. This is kind of an opinion-based question, but what is your favorite farm that you've ever visited?
I'll get shot if I say that.
Elizabeth's putting a target on your back.
Yeah. I have to say, I really enjoy, and I hope nobody that I know cares this. I really enjoy going to Old McCaskill's farm. It's in Rembert. It's got animals. It's got crops. She actually invites me to come twice a year to her farm day. She has sheep shearing in the spring where you can watch them actually shear sheep. In the fall, in a couple weeks, she's going to have our fall field day. But it's a lot of fun. It's not a reenactment. It's they show how things were done in the old days. They have a sawmill. They have all kinds of stuff that show how things were done in the old days. They have wagon rides. They have pumpkin. They have all the normal pumpkin patch. But I also get to go, and she invites me, and I get to stamp people's passports because she's in our passport book. But I've been doing that for many years, so I really like that. She has a real love for the public learning about agriculture and how it started and how it's evolved. So I think that's a neat place. But I really like a lot of my farms. I feel like I have the best job in the world because I get to go and see all these farms, see what they're doing, and help them do what they're doing better. So it's really a privilege to visit all my farms.
So I have a question for you. I remember you talking earlier about, like, you have to have a working farm in a rural area to have a farm in the agritourism, like, department in the program and stuff. But how would you say if you had a farm that wanted to be involved, who would they contact, and, like, how would you start that up?
Okay. They don't have to be in a rural area. We have farms in Columbia, South Carolina. We have City Roots that is downtown Columbia. So to be part of agritourism, you do not have to be a rural area. The TODS program to have the signage, that's rural. Okay. Farms can be anywhere. Farms can be 1 acre. They do not have to be big. Like I said, to be a real farm, you have to just have an income of $1,000 a year from a farm product. So they are all over the place. So, but if anyone's interested, they have a farm and go, boy, I'd like to get into agritourism. All they need to do is contact me. First I do is give them an agritourism 101. I said, look at this. It gives you ideas of what you can do on your farm, but it also tells you the bad. It's not all beautiful, beautiful roses. There is some issues. Sometimes you have neighbors that don't want you to have extra traffic on the highway, on your back roads. I mean, there's issues you need to look at. But the first person that they should contact would be me. And then I can sit down with them and help them decide if this is something they want to do. And if they do, this is who you have to talk to.
A question I do have is that considering that your program, like your company, is like a nonprofit, how do you really make a profit?
You're talking about the association? Mm-hmm. The South Carolina Agritourism Association is a nonprofit. And what we're not, of course, we have volunteers. Nobody's paid in the association. And what we are working on now is, since we're 10 years old, is how do we spend our money? Because we are a nonprofit. We don't ask for much. It's $45 a year to be a member. Mm-hmm. So we're not collecting a whole bunch. But we are starting this year a scholarship fund for anyone going to college. They can apply to a scholarship. The only thing is they have to be related to a farm that is an agritourism farm. And then we're going to help students go to college. That's some of the ideas we have for our money. We're also trying to get some bills changed. Bills, that's right, in the legislature. One thing is tax. If I invite you to my farm and I charge you $10 to go through my corn maze, then I have to pay tax on it, 5% to South Carolina Department of Revenue. Well, we don't think that's right. Farmers should not have to pay tax for inviting people on their farms. The state fair, they invite people on and they don't have to pay a tax. So we're saying, why are our farmers paying? So we're working to get lobbyists to try and get some things changed in the State House. So that's what we're using some of our money for.
I have a question. What are some big trends in the agritourism industry? Because I know there's a lot of it's a wide topic. But what are some like big things people are doing right now?
Yeah, there's so many things, and I didn't get to go through all of them today when I talked to you guys earlier. But there are so many different things going on farms. Right now, big trends are, I think I mentioned, was cut flowers. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. Everybody's growing flowers, and I went to Cotton Hill this spring, and I had so much fun. For $7, I think it was, I got a cup, pretty big cup, and I could go and cut. They give you pruners, and you cut all the flowers you want, all different types, and you have a bouquet. It's just a fun thing to do. I think that was the Ag and Art tour that I was able to do that. And another thing, like I said, is farm stays. People, instead of staying on motels when they go visiting, when they're going traveling, they check on farms nearby to see if they can stay. A lot of people are into what are those called? Mobile RVs, mm-hmm. And so now they have something called Harvest Host, where they pay a fee, but then they can stop at all these farms along the way, along their trail, and stop at those instead of at campgrounds. Those two are big trends. It's funny, Europe has always been ahead of us in agritourism. So it's funny, I enjoy getting to know people over in Europe who are doing agritourism to hear, because they get the trends before we get them. So then I come back and let our farmers know what's big. But there's some of the things that are really big. Another thing we're doing is getting our Christmas tree farms to not just be in November and December, but to also add cut flowers to their mix, to have hiking trails that they can have people on their property year-round. So we're trying to let the farmers know that you can do agritourism year-round. It doesn't have to be just seasonal with a pumpkin patch or a corn maze, but there's other things you can do throughout the year.
Is there any environmental efforts that y'all take to make sure farms are sustainable?
Well, we've started a new group, and I'm not sure what they call themselves, but the essence is regenerative agriculture. And that is the new trend in not just agritourism, but agriculture is to grow your crops in such a way that you're regenerating the land, not just sustaining it, but making it healthier and healthier. No-till, cover crops, but that is a big trend in just farming in general. That is the new buzzword, I guess, is regenerative. And like I said, we have a new group out of the upstate Ware Shoals that is actually heading this group, working on doing that with our farms in South Carolina.
I know a big problem in South Carolina right now is losing farmland. So with the agritourism business, is it kind of helping like conserve and preserve the farmland that we have in the state?
That is really one of the big reasons why I think it is agritourism is growing so rapidly and is the newest, most. I'm trying to figure out how I want to say it. Is the most forward of in agriculture right now is agritourism, because there are things that can wipe a farm out. A lot of things. And so if you have that extra income stream, it can help out in bad years, lean years. It also, a lot of kids, I think it's great you guys with the school coming here and learning better about agriculture. So many kids are going, well, I'm going off to college and I'm not coming back to the farm. And that's really hurting our farmers in South Carolina. So with agritourism, it opens another area of farming that you don't have to be on the tractor all day. You can sit there, you can welcome guests, you can do other things, you can throw the birthday parties or run the summer camps on the farm, or do other things on the farm that young people enjoy doing the social media for your parents. I mean, just that. You need a Facebook page, you need a website, but boy, some of these farmers, at least their kids will come back and have something that they enjoy doing on the farm that's not necessarily being on a tractor all day. So that is all good for keeping our family farms together. I know Farm Bureau also is working to help family farms in South Carolina put their farms in a land trust so that they don't sell, and more farms are doing that to save our farms from being housing developments.
One of the last questions I have is, like you mentioned social media. How do you think social media could actually benefit agritourism in South Carolina?
Oh, it does. That's how they get the word out. I mean, I use Facebook every day to find out who's doing what. I told you about my newsletter I put out every month that tells you events on the farms around South Carolina. I go to their Facebook pages because that's the first place they're going to post, hey, we're going to have a special painting class at our winery this week. They'll post that on social media. And that's what we do. We take it and spread it so that it gets out around to other social media. I mean, our Facebook page has over 4,000 followers. So whenever I find something going on a farm, I'll share it to our Facebook. And of course, then someone else, you'll see them sharing it to their friends' Facebook. And social media really helps. Obviously, you guys know better than I do, but really helps get the word out and helps with getting people onto our farms.
Well, thank you, Ms. Jackie Moore, for coming, and thank you, Dell and Elizabeth, for skipping class with me. Thank you for tuning in to. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. Please join us next week for another conversation at John Delahowe.
Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. A closer look at agriculture in South Carolina and conversations between the current and future leaders of agriculture in the Palmetto State and experts from across America. Presented by the students of the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture at John Delahowe. For more information on the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture, visit our website at delahowe.sc.gov.